very good evening to all of you all who has joined today for the workshop series of Jumpstart 2021. So before we begin, let me give a small introduction on what basically Jumpstart is. Jumpstart is uh, Jumpstart is a competition and a huge opportunity for startups who are in early stage as well as in mature stage. So we give many opportunities and many benefits for aspiring potential startups who are there. So in this year, we are having it for the fifth consecutive year. So this year we started with our workshop series. So we are in collaboration with 10,000 Ideas initiative by ICTA, and also our knowledge partner is Sasnaka Sansada Foundation. So together we have come up with a really great lineup for this workshop series where it provides an overall knowledge on the subject of entrepreneurship. So with that, let me move on to the first workshop, which is problem identification. So we are starting from the very basics. So let me introduce our speaker for today's session. Mr. Shuaib Jabbar is a certified life coach. He's also an ambassador and member of Asia Pacific Alliance of Coaches, certified strength and conditioning coach at ASCA, certified nutritional coach, and he also has a BSc in accounting and finance from the London School of Economics and Political Science, a diploma in economics from the London School of Economics and Political Science. He's also the co-founder of Kaizaern Fitness Private Limited and also a member of Sasnaka Sansada Foundation. We warmly welcome Mr. Shuaib Jabbar to educate us on the subject of problem identification today. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vinuri. Before I get started, if I can just get a confirmation that all of you can both see me clearly as well as hear me clearly. You guys can just put a thumbs up in the chat box. That would suffice.
Yeah, we can see you. And
yeah, you can. Okay. Thank you so much, Henry. All right. So given that I didn't get any responses in the chat box, I need to get this out of the way at the very start, guys. Before we get started, I need each and every one of you to be a part of this conversation, right? I know that it's titled the workshop, but for me, this is fundamentally a conversation, right? And a non-negotiable for a conversation is two-way communication. I need you guys. I understand that you can't unmute yourself, not each and every one of you, because that will create a bit of an issue in terms of logistics for us to communicate. We are going to be speaking over each other, and it might not be the best. But in terms of the chat box, I want you guys to go crazy. I want you to put in whatever that is your response to any of the questions I ask, or if I say something and you don't believe what I say, or you have an argument for it, please, I encourage you to please bring it up in the chat box, because I want today's session to be a conversation with you guys. From my little understanding of what you all have come here for is you guys are clearly interested in the field of entrepreneurship. But we all know fundamentally that entrepreneurs solve problems, right? Solve problems. And in order for you to solve a problem, you need to first be able to identify a problem. What is a problem? How do you identify it? What's a good problem to solve? What's a problem that's worth your time, right? We all live in this paradox of understanding that resources are limited. Your time is limited. You've got 24 hours in a day. Your money is limited, a resource again, right? Your networks can be limited in the short run, right? What you can do is always limited in the short run. Okay. So how then do you maximize? How then do you prioritize what you do with these limited resources? How do you get the most out of these limited resources, right? So that applies when it comes to being a problem solver. You can't solve all the problems in the world. So how then do you identify what's a good problem, right? What's a problem that you can solve, right? How do we identify that? Okay, so that's going to be a stepping stone for you guys as entrepreneurs. But before we go into that, my opinion, looking at some industry examples, look at empirical evidence, before all of that, I want you guys to type in the chat box and tell me, why are you here today? Why are you here today? It really doesn't matter. There is no one answer. There isn't a right answer. But I want some answer from each and every one of you. Why are you here? Why did you come here? Because I know that we had a poster which said problem identification and how to design and develop a winning solution. It's all fancy words, but what does that mean? Why are you here? Why are you taking time out of your schedule to come here, listen to this session, right? Why is it that you're spending your data, even if you have valuable time, seated in front of a screen, listening to this? Why did you come here? I want to know. And I'm not going to proceed till I get an answer. And I also want to know, do you guys prefer if I speak in Sinhala? Because if that's the case, it's not a problem for me. I was told that predominantly it should be done in English. හැබැයි කාට හරි preference එකක් තියෙනවා නම් මේක සිංහල භාෂාවෙන් කරන්න ඕගොල්ලන්ට හිතනවා නම් ඊට වඩා අපිට smoothly මේ workshop එක කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් කියලා හිතනවා නම් ඒක හරි දාන්න chat box එකේ. එතකොට මම දැන් දන්න තරමට කවුරුත් නැහැ වගේ. මොකද chat box එකේ කිසිම නාව එක response එකක් finally. Okay. So far the vote is for English. What about the rest? That's only one person. I think we have like about 40 people here. I'd like to hear from the majority. Do you guys? Okay, yeah, fine. DMs are fine too. No problem. But I'm going to proceed with this until we get this sorted out. We need to stay interactive. I need you guys to contribute. Because otherwise, who knows? I mean, I might be going down the wrong rabbit hole. Okay. Okay, fine. So responses are coming in. Finally, thank you. Now I know that there are actual participants, and I know that you guys can type, and I know that your keyboard is working. Great, brilliant stuff. Okay, we can finally move on. Cool. So since all of you all have voted in for English, we will stick to English, but please don't feel shy to ask something in Sinhala. Sinhala භාෂාවක් කිසි වෙනසක් නැහැ. අපි මේක සිංහලෙන් කරත් ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කරත්. But yes, I understand it's good if we can speak in English because that's the global language that a majority of the people, are in tune with. Great. Okay, so since I know that you're actually there, let me ask this question once again. Why did you come here today? Why did you come? And this question is important even for me because even though I came here with a few points in mind, if what you want, if what your ask is different, I'm willing to change that. I'm willing to answer your questions, right? To help you solve your problems, right? Because this is not about me. So I need you to put in a few words in the chat box. Why did you come here today? What are you expecting out of this? Or at least if you're not sure at all, at least tell me that you have no clue why you came here, which is also fine. Then I'll just, tell you guys something that I know and we can call it a day. Why are you here? Okay. So I've got one response which says to gain perspectives and insight. Okay. Thank you for responding. Secondly, can we be more specific? Right? And that's a point I'll get to as well in problem identification, specificity. See, when you say gain perspective and insight, that's so generic. Right? That's so generic. Right? Gain perspectives and insights on what? What do you want to gain perspectives and insights on? That's what I want to know. On business. Better, but we can still do even better. On business is still pretty general. Perspective and insight on business about what? Is it about business finances? Is it about idea generation? Is it about problem? Okay, about startup. See, it's getting better. And I'll come back to this. This example is great, right? This example is absolutely great because one of the processes that we're going to talk about is how do you get to the root problem? All right, good. So now that I know that we have some interaction going on, let's proceed. So as my introduction mentioned, I have a little bit of experience into the business side and problem solving and whatnot. But let me start by telling you guys, look, I'm not the world's best problem identifier. No, am I the world's best problem solver. But what I will do for you guys is over these couple of years, whatever the mistakes that I've made, whatever I've gotten wrong, whatever I've learned from the industry experts, let's bring that to the discussion here. And then let's get your input. Let's get your questions, the challenges that you face, and let's work together to solve this problem. Right? So this one is not to come up with a business idea to cater customer needs that the business world has not touched upon yet. Right? Okay, fine, cool. That's a little bit more descriptive. It's not general. Great. Okay. Now, before we get into specifics, I just want to highlight something to you guys. Why are we talking about this? Like, why are we talking about it? What is the cover of conversation? Right? Have any of you heard of TED Talks? TED Talks. Has anybody heard of TED Talks? If you have heard of TED Talks, I want you to type 1 in the chat box. So Everyone's got to respond to this, all right? Because it's either a yes or a no. If it's a maybe, let's put a 3. That way, none of you will have an excuse not to. Okay, fine. Everyone's responding. Brilliant. So, pretty much everyone has heard about TED Talks, right? Okay. So, what's the power of TED Talk? What's the point in bringing these people who have discovered things that other people haven't before, who've seen the world in a different perspective that others haven't before, right? Who've figured something out that's been a burning problem to the world. Why bring them to a stage and get them to share their ideas, right? Why is it ideas worth spreading? What's the power of conversation? Does anybody know what is the power of conversation? What do conversations do? What happens when a group of people get together and talk about a particular subject? What happens? Can anybody tell me what happens?
Yeah, can I go?
Yeah, go for it.
When it comes to talking, if someone is persuasive enough about what he or she believes in, he can actually change how someone else thinks.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. So change is one thing that can be brought about because of conversation. Now, I'll tell you something that's a little cool. Okay. So here's why I believe in the power of conversation. Okay. The human mind is a beautifully designed organ, right? It is one of the most fascinating creations that has ever existed. But it's also a very messy one. It's one of those things that are so powerful that if you don't learn how to use it, you will invariably misuse it. Okay? The human brain is so powerful. But most of us don't understand how to use it, myself included, right? I can't say that I fully understand how to use the brain, but I'm working on it. Here's our conversation. Conversations, right? Conversations bring importance to a particular topic, a particular solution, a particular subject, a particular problem. Now, why is importance, focus, and attention important, right? Because it is only when we're aware of something that we begin to think about it. It's only when we begin to think about it do we begin to see the loopholes, the problems that exist. And only when you see the problems can you start thinking about how can I solve this. And it is only when you do that that you start coming up with potential opportunities and options for you to actually overcome it, right? But why is it important for us to talk about identifying problems, how to look at a problem? I'll tell you why. Now, we're going to do a little bit of an experiment. I want all of you all to participate in this. It, you're going to realize the power of conversation by doing this. Okay? So I want you guys to just close your eyes for a moment. All right? Close your eyes with me. Pay attention to what I'm saying, but just close your eyes. Yeah? Now, while your eyes are closed, I'm going to give you a memo, a little bit of a experiment for you to do. Okay, so eyes are closed, and I want you to think, right? I want you to think of any animal in the world. Any animal in the world. You can think of any animal in the world, but, right, no matter what you think about, you cannot think about a black and white, super furry, really cute panda. That's the only thing you can't think about, right? You cannot think about it. Any animal in the world, but you cannot think about the cute black and white panda. And now my question to you is you can open your eyes, and my question to you is did you happen to see the panda? If you did, type 1. If you didn't, type 2. Even if it was for a brief moment, even just for a few split seconds, did you see a panda? All right, so you guys can take a look at the chat box. The evidence is there. You were the participants, you did it, and you submitted your answers. And I want you to look at the chat box because I have nothing to do with this. All right, it's evidence and it's proof, right, that each and every one of you saw the panda. Then my next question: if the one condition was don't think about the panda, why is it that everyone saw the panda? This is what we call the reticular activating system in the brain. So in your brain, you've got your subconscious mind, and then you've got your conscious mind, right? So your conscious mind actively takes decisions, do that, do this, think of that. But your subconscious mind is always active, right? It's collecting information. It's collecting information. Now, this reticular activating system is kind of like a strainer, right? If you ever make tea at home, when you make your tea and you pour the tea leaves, to kind of get the tea out of it, all the tea leaves remain in the strainer. So the strainer decides that I will allow particles that are bigger than a certain size to get stuck in the strainer. That's basically how it works. So this RTA will decide in our brains, kind of like a strainer, what information will I pay more attention to and what information I won't pay attention to, right? So, because even if I asked you guys to look around your room right now or your office or wherever you are attending this, and I asked you to identify everything that is black, you will see a lot of things that are black around you. And you'll also realize, these things were around me all this while. These things were around me all this while. And I knew they're there. They were there in the background, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. If you agree, I want you to type one. If you disagree with me, I want you to type two. So you're in your room. I just told you to look around your room and observe anything that is in the color of black. And in that moment, I'm sure you came across a lot of things that were black, which were there already in the room, right? Or maybe it's a lot of things, maybe it's even a few things, and they were in the room all along, right? But you weren't actively paying attention to it. They're there. You know they're there, but it's not like you were looking at it. Oh, that's black. That's black. No. But when I told you to look for it, you started seeing it, right? Most often than not, this happens. The example that is given in the study that is conducted is in relation to cars. When you want to buy a new car, right? Say you want to buy a black Suzuki Swift, right? You decide today, you've gone through Ikman.lk, you looked at all the cars, looked at all the prices, you worked out your leasing agreements, your finances, everything, and now you're going to buy the car, right? And you step out of the house. When you step out of the house, all of a sudden now you can see black color Suzuki Swift. Everywhere you look, there's a black color Suzuki Swift. Have any of you experienced something like this? Anything like this? And I want you to type one in the chat box if you have, right? So you've decided, you've been looking, and now when you go out, all you see is that car. Now, how is that possible? Did these cars just suddenly manufacture themselves? Did everyone decide to buy that particular vehicle? Or does everyone who owned that car suddenly decide to, drive by you? It's none of that. It's merely the fact that that's why we are here today on a Tuesday evening, right? Listening to this, because if we talk about what are problems, how to identify them, how to come up with solutions, then from this moment forward, your mind will start looking at things differently. Your mind will be looking for problems that can be solved and turned into opportunities as entrepreneurs, as business people. Is that clear? I want an answer in the chat box. Is that clear? Yes or no? I've gotten one yes, but okay, right, brilliant. Everyone's clear. Great, super. Cool. So we all understand why we're here today, right? When we started this conversation, a lot of you had slightly different reasons that we're here, but I want to bring all of us to one common objective, right? I want to bring us to one and a true common objective by bringing all our minds together to solve this problem, that we will come out of this having answered your individual challenges as well, right? I genuinely believe that. All right. So let's move on to the first segment, right? How do you identify problems? And I want to ask this from you as a question. How can you be a problem identifier, someone who identifies problems? What do you think you need to do to be able to do that? Because I'll tell you one thing. When it comes to your general life, do you all have people who criticize you? If you have people who criticize you, right? Can you type one in the chat box? You have someone who criticizes you. They make statements like you're always late, right? Or they say something like you never answer the phone, or they say something like you never study, or they say something like you're always bad at this, right? Or you always lie, or you're a liar. Right? Do you have people who make statements like that or anything of that sort in your life? If so, I want you to type one in the chat. Okay, so everybody seems to have at least somebody who makes, or rather who criticizes. Right? That's criticizing. Those here. Okay, that's criticizing. Great. Now, those people who answered one, this question is to you. Does that criticism help you? The fact that someone tells you those things, does it help you? If it does, I want you to type one, and if it doesn't, I want you to type two. All they say is that you're wrong. There are a couple of direct messages as well, right? Does anybody know what constructive criticism means? What's the difference between criticism and constructive criticism? Anyone? You can unmute yourself if it's easier for you, because if you prefer to respond verbally, you can unmute yourself, but otherwise you can type it in the chat box. What's the difference between criticism and constructive criticism? And I'll tell you how this relates to problems as well, right? Constructive criticism is criticism that is helpful. That's not wrong. That's not wrong. Constructive criticism gives you room to improve. Yeah, that's a feature of it. But what I'm asking is, what is it? Okay. So what constructive criticism is basically telling somebody that something isn't right or something isn't optimal because of these reasons, right? හේතුවක් ඇතුව කවුරු හරි what is those කියනවා සහ ඒ කියන whatever they are saying, right? ඒකේ කොහොමද දියුණු වෙන්නේ කියලා සමහරක් වෙලාවට it could be improved. Like, not all constructive criticism would be your complete solution. It wouldn't be like, okay, you are always late, the reason you're late is this, what you can do to not be late is this. It may not be to that extent, but generally constructive criticism is something that you can work with. Like, someone would say, your answer is wrong because the step where you convert this from this is wrong. Okay, like say it's a mathematical question and there are 3 steps to get an answer, right? There are 3 steps to get an answer. Now, when your teacher tells you the answer is wrong, is that beneficial to you? You're with your math teacher, you did a math sum, you got the wrong answer. The teacher says, this is wrong, and gives it back to you. Is that helpful? Or is it better if the teacher says, this answer is wrong because in the second step, you were supposed to multiply this by the common factor, but you didn't. What's better, the first one or the second one? Just type 1 or 2 in the chat box. First one or the second one? Obviously the second one, because now you know where the problem is. You know where you need to go and work. You know what you need to change. That is what constructive criticism is relevant to our topic today in problem solving. Here's how. All of us identify problems. All of us identify problems. Right now, what's the biggest problem that we identify in Sri Lanka? What's the biggest problem we have in Sri Lanka right now? I want you to type an answer to this in the chat box. According to your perspective, according to your experience, what's the biggest problem? Okay, so one person says forex crisis, inflation, living, living in general. Okay, survival, government failure, debt, corruption. Any other interesting answers? Okay, yeah. But that's a general vibe, right? Everybody's sick of things, fed up. Okay, some people say gas tanks. Okay, fine. So yeah, these are all problems, right? Now see that all of you all have identified problems. All of you all have identified problems. So then what differentiates you from the entrepreneurs? Right? All of us are very much vigilant about the problems in the country. Gas cylinder. Some people, are saying that it's a dollar issue. Some are saying the gas tanks are blowing up. Some are saying politicians are corrupt. Some are saying the people of the country are not doing anything. All of these are problems. We all agree. And everyone is talking about these problems. Okay. But what differentiates the general population who's talking about problems in general versus entrepreneurs? Yes. Satindra, you are spot on, bro. They are looking for solutions. That is what differentiates the general public from the entrepreneur. That is what differentiates a critique from a constructive criticism, right? සමහරක් කට්ටිය දොස් කියන එක විතරයි කරන්නේ. දොස් කිව්වට ඒ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳන්න තියෙන solution එකක් ගැන කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ solution එක perfect නොවෙන්න පුළුවන්. The solution that an entrepreneur comes up with to solve a problem may not, and in fact, most often isn't correct. It isn't 100% correct. It isn't 100% perfect, right? But the difference is the fact, right? Is that they are not judgmental with what they see. Now, when we see the country, but how do we close? How do we solve those issues? Sorry, when you say solve those issues, which issues are you referring to? So you can be a little clearer, right? Okay, fine. So come back to the point, okay? So what do we need to do to be able to identify a problem? That was the question. But before that, I want you to understand the approach towards identifying problems. Because none of us lack the ability to see problems. We all see all kinds of problems around us. But what we lack is the right perspective. What all we see is the problem. We don't see beyond the problem, right? And you guys said that what differentiates the general person who sees a problem from an entrepreneur is the fact that an entrepreneur not only sees the problem, they are looking for, or they are actively working towards figuring out a solution. All right. The quality that I want you guys to remember that will make you someone who can identify problems is curiosity. All right, is curiosity. Can anybody explain to me what the meaning of curiosity is? Okay, so the question was on how do we solve the issues, economic issues. Okay, fine. So the question is on how can we solve the economic issue. So that is a very, very, very specific question. I'm not sure if you're asking how you can solve it as an entrepreneur, or if you're asking in general, how can we solve the problems in Sri Lanka? Because the answer to the problems in Sri Lanka, again, this is not economic advice or financial advice, this is a personal perspective, is not something that can be solved with one change. It cannot be solved by changing a politician or the politicians only. It cannot be changed by changing a person or the people in general only. It will need to be a combination of factors, right? Just remember that the position that we are in today is not a result of the pandemic. It is not a result of the present government. When I say not a result, what I mean is not only a result of. Yeah, the pandemic played a role. Yes, the government is playing a role. Yes, the politicians play a role. We as people are responsible. We are playing a role. So are the other 73 years before us that we got independence. All of this is a final outcome of everything, right? So it's very easy for us to not take accountability, not take responsibility, to just point fingers and just show the problems, right? Which brings us back to our topic today, right? We can all point out the problems. Okay, so curiosity, I got an answer. The eagerness to know something, right? That when you are practicing this curiosity to identify problems, one very, very, very important thing is there are some conditions, some values that you need to embody when you are being curious. Right? Okay, so there's more answers coming. Curiosity is mindful exploration. Okay. The first and simple emotion which we discover in the human mind. Curious. Yes. Okay. So guys, the reason I wanted to ask you this is as we age, right? As we age, the schools we go to, the family that we come from, the people in our country, the places that we travel to, the personalities we are exposed to through social media, the things that we see, the way we interact, the way we behave, all of these influence our perspective on the world. All of us influence this perspective, right? So perspective is something that I always look at as, say, lenses on your glasses, right? So let's say I have a problem seeing. Okay, I have a problem with my eyes, which is why I wear glasses, right? When I wear these glasses or these glasses, what I see is different to when I don't wear it. Okay. Now, that does not mean that what I'm looking at is different. What I'm looking at is the exact same thing, but what I'm seeing is different depending on am I wearing my glasses or am I not wearing my glasses. That's perspective. Perspective is a lens that you see the world through. Now, remember what I told you, all these things, your culture, your color, your creed, your religion, your family, your school, all of these influence your perspective. Okay. But when you are practicing authentic curiosity, you need to leave those aside. Your personal biases, your personal preferences. Entrepreneurs are good at doing this, right? Because as an entrepreneur who's looking for a problem that can be solved, you need to identify the person who is affected by the problem, not your personal perception or perspective of the problem. You may think that there is a problem, but what the people are actually facing may be different. Is that clear? Is that clear? If it's not clear, you need to tell me. Okay. So step number one in today's session, takeaway number one was understanding what's the importance of talking about this, which you guys said was crystal clear. Step number two was identify. You need to practice curiosity. Is it clear up to there? Yes or no? Yes or no? If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, yes. So what is the need? Okay, so there's a question asking, so what is needed to find problems? Okay, so if your need is, if what you're asking is, okay, how can I find more problems that exist? Then the answer is curiosity, right? Curiosity. Look, ask, observe, right? Look, ask, observe. Look for a problem, right? Because there are plenty that exist in and around you. But if you're not practicing curiosity, I'll give you something that kind of hinders your ability, right? Takes away your ability to see a problem. And I mentioned this before. And that is your personal judgment. Right? So judgment is where you look at something and you pass a verdict on it. Make a mehimai. Make a mehimai, right? Instead of asking the question, make a mehimad. Make a mehimama vend onid. That approach is different to saying make a mehimai. Is that clear? Does that answer your question? The person who direct messaged me. Does that answer your, I don't want to mention your name because I'm assuming you're direct messaging me since you want to keep it private. So you can, reply via DM to that. Okay, clear. Great. So that's cleared up. Great. So you're clear up to there. Okay. Now the question of, okay, how can you, be somebody who's curious about what's going on around you? What are the problems that people are facing? And I'm sorry about the answer. It's cliche. The answer is pretty simple. And it is practice, right? The age-old recommendation that anyone would give you. I'm sorry, but there's no way out of it. If you want to be a curious person, then you need to practice being curious. Now, a lot of us will take that in the literal sense and think you need to practice curiosity in terms of finding problems to be solved as an entrepreneur. Now, that's not wrong. That's not wrong. But what you need to understand is curiosity is not what an entrepreneur. Curiosity in itself is a skill. Curiosity is a skill. And just like any skill, it can be developed. You can get better at it. Now, some people say entrepreneurs are born curious. I can't really debate with that. Maybe God has given certain people, more curiosity than other people. But the beauty is curiosity is a skill. And we know that a skill can be developed, right? Kumar Sangakkara may have certain inherent genetics that help him be a better sportsman. I don't know. Okay. And you may not be that much of a great batsman. Okay. And you may not ever be like Kumar Sangakkara as well. But if you practice, can't you get better? That's my question. I want you to answer in the chat box. If you practice, can't you get better? I'm not saying you'll be better than Kumar Sangakkara, right? I'm saying that if you practice daily, you learn, you implement, you get feedback, you try again, can't you get better than where you are? Yeah, slowly but surely is the answer I got. Of course, it's impossible to not get any better, right? At least some amount you have to get better. So if curiosity is a skill, then if you practice, you can develop curiosity. But remember the conditions, guys. If you want to be somebody who practices curiosity as an entrepreneur, you've got to leave your biases aside. You've got to leave your biases aside. When you look at something, you have to look at it for what it is, not for what you think it is, right? My mom taught me that the people who are in the blue party in parliament or the people who are in the green party in parliament are the best party. Now, that is not an unbiased, that's biased. Those are not unbiased. They will look at it and say, there's a party that's blue, there's a party that's green. This is what the blue party is saying, this is what the Green Party is saying. If we do, is this bad? What the other? If that's the outcome, is it good? Is it bad? The decision has nothing to do with the color of the party. The decision has to do with the actual outcome, the actual problem that's there. That is something you really, really need to remember. Don't allow the area that you were brought up in, the school that you went to, the degree that you studied, the country that you're a part of, to restrict your ability to assess the problem. That is the first thing that I want to get to you guys. Okay, so you guys said it was clear. I just reiterated it a bit, added a bit more facts into it, right? To kind of help you solidify and understand the first thing. You want to be a problem solver? Practice curiosity. And remember, this practice of curiosity is not only to find problems to solve as an entrepreneur. If you want to be, right, if you want to be a problem solver or a problem identifier to start with, you need to start practicing curiosity in everything you do, right? Okay. ඇයි මම හැමදාම උදේ නැගිට්ටාම දකුණු අතෙන් දත් මදිනවා. මට බැරිද වම් අතෙන් මදින්න. වම් අතෙන් දත් මැද්දොත් මොකද්ද මට තියෙන benefits ටික? දකුණු අතෙන් මැද්දොත් මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? In everything you do, start applying that curiosity. That's how you get better, right? So the research shows on average for us to be an expert in something, on average, right? If you've read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, so what they did was they analyzed people who were experts and at top levels in their respective industries to identify how many hours had they to put into their craft to be called an expert or an industry leader, right? And the average is around 10,000 hours, roughly 10,000 hours. Right now, there are people who can get it under 10,000. There are people who will need more than 2,000, which is why I'm saying it's an average, right? Bell curve bell curve matter. Okay, your mean is 10,000 hours. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea and also a reminder that it's not something that's going to come easy. You got to put in the work, right? So that's what you need to do if you want to start adopting that curiosity mindset. That's clear by you guys, so we can move on. Before we move on, any questions pertaining to the areas that we covered? Cover කරපු areas වලින් මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්නක් තියෙනවා. Clear the confusion එකක් තියෙනවා නම් දැම්ම clear කරගන්න. එතකොට අපිට ඉස්සරහට යද්දි ලේසි වෙයි. Okay, I'm getting answers which say clear, great. Lovely. All right, so now you guys know, right? You guys know that the difference that sets the entrepreneur from the average person in terms of problem identification is the fact that the average person will only point out problems. They will not look at the problem in a positive, in a progressive manner. Whereas an entrepreneur looks at a problem as an opportunity, right? If there's a problem for everybody, if I or my company or my product can solve that, that's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for progress. It's an opportunity for the people to remove the pain point in their life. And it's also an opportunity for you as an entrepreneur to build a company, to build a product, to build a service, to build a business and income out of that problem. So that approach, that perspective, those lenses on your glasses is what sets you apart when it comes to be an entrepreneur, right? So I'm harping on the fact that it's an entrepreneur because the point of this project is Jumpstart. The point of you guys being here is ideally I like to think that all of you want to be entrepreneurs, whether it's your own company or whether it's inside somebody else's company, like an intrapreneur. I'm sure you've heard the term, right? Cool. Now that you've understood that, let's move on to once you identify a problem, how can you, right? What are the values? What are the practices you need to be able, right? To be able to develop a winning solution. Right? That's the second part of what we discussed, right? Now you've identified the problem. You know what it takes to be a problem identifier. Okay, you know that. But now we're going to talk about some values, some guidelines, some practices that entrepreneurs who are successful in solving this problem have. Okay, the first one is a clear definition of the problem. A clear definition of the problem. Okay, because like I told you, often what the general public sees as the problem is what we call the surface problem. The surface problem. So think of it as a tree. If you take a tree, okay, you've got the roots, you've got the bark, you've got the branches, and you've got the leaves. Majority of people, they see the leaves. And they might see the bark. Some people may observe the bark beyond the leaves, right? And then you've got the whole trunk. But almost no one thinks about or sees the roots. And we talk about this even in nutrition, we talk about this even in fitness. When I work with my clients, a lot of them will come and tell me, I want to, and it's often followed by something that is visual. I want to lose weight. I want to build muscle, right? It's very visual because that's what their eyes see every day. That's what their friends comment about, what their family people say, because it's visual, right? But I never, ever, ever take that at surface value. I always ask why a few times. Right? You guys might have heard of Six Sigma as well, where you ask five whys. At least 5 times you ask the question why until you come to the root cause. So you move from the leaves to the bark, from the bark to the tree, from the tree to the roots. Because if you fix the problem on the leaf and not the bark, the leaves are still going to go bad. If you fix the problem on the on the bark but not the trunk, the bark is still going to go bad and the leaves are still going to go bad. If you fix the problem on the bark but not the roots, the bark is still going to go bad, the branches are still going to go bad, and the leaves are still going to go bad. Is that clear? Do you understand that? Do you guys understand the problem? Okay. So if when you identify problems, all you identify is the surface problem. උඩ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ විතරයි නම් ඔයා තේරුම් ගන්න. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඇති වෙන්න තියෙන හේතුව හොයාගත්තේ නැත්නම් you have not properly defined the problem. Is that clear? Okay, one person says, exactly. What I'm saying is find the root cause. When you as an entrepreneur are trying to solve something, try to look for the root cause. Yes, okay. So the question is, isn't it possible to go deeper to the root level as we go on solving the problem? 100%. Which is why I told you that when you adopt curiosity, so you've got the curiosity mindset, and let's use the example of Six Sigma, right? I'll ask you guys a question. Okay. Do all of you know that the Titanic crashed or at least sunk? Yes or no? Titanic, okay, everyone knows that the Titanic sank. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Why did the Titanic sink? I want you to participate in this because it's going to really clear out your doubts. It's a literal simulation of the Six Sigma because of a fire in the ship. Okay. So, is that why the Titanic sank? Okay, someone says hit an iceberg. Some say it was burning. They're still at the surface level, okay? Metal becomes brittle due to low temperatures. Okay. But at a fundamental level, what makes a ship sink? A fire, does a fire make a ship sink? Because, I mean, does that make sense? Okay, so if you light a fire on a ship, is that the reason it sinks? Is what I'm asking. Why does a ship sink? Hopefully you watched the movie Titanic, otherwise it's a bit hard. When the ship that was burning, an iceberg hit the spot at which. Oh, I got the answer. Someone said water comes into the ship. That's why the ship sinks. A ship doesn't sink because it hit an iceberg. A ship doesn't sink because of a fire. A ship doesn't sink because of a captain. At a fundamental level, a ship sinks if there's a hole in the ship, right? If there's a hole in the ship and there's water filling into the ship, it's going to sink, right? Then you ask the question, why was there a hole in the ship? Why was there a hole in the Titanic? How was that hole created? So that's your second why. So number one, why did the Titanic sink? We found the answer. The reason it sunk is because water filled in. Why did water fill in? Because there was a hole, right? Why was there a hole in the Titanic? Y'all kind of answered that question before, but just so that we're on track. Why was there a hole in the ship? Why was there a hole in the Titanic? It hit an iceberg. There you go. That's your third why. It hit an iceberg. Why did it hit an iceberg? That's my next question. By the way, the answer came on a private message that it hit an iceberg in case you're wondering why you aren't seeing the answer. Okay, so steering too fast at once. Because we steered too fast at once, it hit the iceberg. Why did we have to steer fast at once? That's your fifth why, okay? Why did we have to steer fast at once? Why couldn't we steer slowly in advance? Titanic sunk. Why did it sink? Because there was a hole, because water filled in the ship. Why did water fill in the ship? Because there was a hole. Why was there a hole? Because we hit an iceberg. Why did we hit the iceberg? We steered too fast. And And then you guys gave the answer to a direct message. Didn't know the iceberg was there. So then, okay, I'm going to stop at 5 whys because we can keep going, right? What we've identified as problem identifiers here is that the Titanic didn't sink because water filled in it. The Titanic didn't sink because there was a hole. The Titanic didn't sink because, or didn't have a hole because it hit an iceberg, right? The Titanic didn't hit an iceberg just for the fun of it. The reason it hit the iceberg was because you didn't see the iceberg or you steered too fast. So then the problem is not that it hit the iceberg or that there's a hole or that water is filling. The problem is that the people in charge of governing or rather of navigating the ship didn't see the iceberg in advance. They didn't see it fast enough. They weren't aware of it. So why is that? Maybe they didn't have the adequate technology. Maybe they didn't have vision. Maybe they were not focused. Maybe they weren't, whatever it is. Now, that is where the potential for the businessman or the, okay, let's say in a hypothetical example, the reason that they couldn't see, okay, so someone says that they didn't listen to the warnings, right? I'm not sure if that's the kind of exact thing that happens in the movie, but they didn't hear the warnings. Okay, so maybe we can improve the method in which those warnings are given. Maybe rather than just it being on a PA system, each and every person on the crew on the ship has a device with them, right, which gives them a warning. You can be the entrepreneur that comes up with that solution, right? You can be the entrepreneur that comes up with the solution, right? So this is what I mean by getting to the root cause. Is that clear now? And to the person who said, can't we, go start from the surface problem and go to the root cause? You are 100% correct. In fact, that's how you have to go at it, because you need to work backwards from the surface problem. You need to work backwards, right? This happened because of this. Why did that happen? Because of this. Why did that happen? Because of this. Why did that happen? Because of this. So this Six Sigma management concept was created by Toyota, right, in their manufacturing. So they would look at a machine that broke down and be like, machine break, or this machine broke because this particular part broke. Why did that part break? Well, that part broke because there was, say, the two components were not moving smoothly. Why didn't it move smoothly? Because the engineer hadn't put oil. Why didn't the engineer put oil? Because the engineer doesn't check the machine regularly. Oh, okay. That means the problem here is not the machine. The problem is we need to have a regular checkup done by the engineer, at which point he will identify that there is no oil. He will put oil and the problem will be solved. Talking about the qualities that you need to have as an entrepreneur who's looking to solve problems, right? And the first thing we said is a clear definition of the problem. Then the question, how can you get a clear definition? Be curious, right? Keep questioning the problem. Go deep, go to the root cause, right? Because see, guys, if you solve the surface problem, you will be an entrepreneur. You will be in business for a short period of time, because immediately you might be able to give a solution, right? Let's take the gas cylinder issue, for example, that a gas cylinder is exploding, right? And some entrepreneur figures out a small kind of device that you can put in to stop the explosion, right? But the reason the explosion is not happening is because maybe that particular device is able to contain the gas for a little longer. But beyond a certain point, again, the gas leaks and an explosion can happen. So for a short period, for about a week or two, that person might be in business because everyone would be like, once I bought this person's device, my cylinder is not bursting. But after a week, it blows up. And they're like, you know what? No, no, no. This guy's thing, it only solves the problem for a short period of time. So there's an opportunity for someone else to come into the market and take away your business. So that's why I'm saying, as an entrepreneur, as much as possible. Now, guys, understand, you can't get a perfect answer here. And that's why I'll come to another quality as an entrepreneur, right? So, but you got to do your best to get to the bottom of the problem. Get to the bottom of the problem. That's the first quality you need to have, the first mindset that you need to adopt in order to be an effective problem solver as well as an identifier. That's number one. Number two, you got to have a solution oriented mindset. What do I mean by that? Solution oriented mindset. Whether it's cricket, whether it's economics, whether it's politics, whether it's business, one of the most powerful tools is your mindset. It's how you look at things. A good local example I can give you just for the term mindset is Dhammika Pereira. Right now, don't get into the nitty gritties of now people will say, okay, he's doing this in the stock market, he has these political ties. I don't know any of that. Right? I'm not talking about that. And frankly, it doesn't matter because I can't change what he's doing if he's even doing those things. We don't know, right? But what I want you to look at is in unbiased way. I want you to look at his mindset. He always sees things as an opportunity, right? He always sees things as an opportunity, and he's always saying, "How can I solve that problem?" If any of you have heard him speak or watched any of his interviews, how Dhammika Pereira speaks, I'm purely speaking about the way he speaks. Okay, I don't know him personally. I don't know Gedara Gehama if he's full negative and talks about all the problems and no solutions. I don't know that. I'm just talking about the way he speaks for you to understand what it means to have a solution-oriented mindset. Right? If you take Steve Jobs, multiple times along his journey of coming to where he was in building the company Apple, he failed. Every time he failed, whether it was a software restriction, whether it was a financial restriction, whether it was a hardware restriction, whether it was a concept restriction, whether it was a resource. There were multiple times he fell. But every time he fell, rather than just seeing a problem, he had a solution oriented mindset. There is a problem like this. What can I do to overcome this? That second line is very important. We all are very good at having problems in our life. We always say that's a problem, this is a problem, this is not working, we are all qualified MBA, Masters, PhD at that. But the thing we don't even have an O level or A level qualification in is the solution oriented mindset. Right? Gas cylinder දැන් පිපිරෙනවා. එහෙනම් මොකක්ද අපි කරන්නේ? Can I change Litrogas as a company? Can I get them to change the cylinder? Can I get the government to be honest with me and give me, a product I can trust? Kind of out of my control. What can I do? I can put the cylinder outside my house. I can not buy gas and instead use an electric cooker, right? Or I can buy firewood and use firewood. The second option I'm giving you is a solution-oriented mindset. Right now, some people, when you're late for something, what do they say? Oh, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. Parakui, then parakui. Like, I parakui කියලා කියන එක මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? Nothing is changing, no? I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. Yeah, you're late. So you can't go back in time and be early, no? But a solution-oriented person, I'm late. Okay, I'm late. But what can I do to mitigate the damage? Okay, I'm late. Someone is waiting for me. Let me inform them. Call the person, inform them you're getting late. Right? I'm late. I was going to go in the bus. Right? But because I'm late, let me get a cab or a tuk. Okay? I'm late. And on the way, I was going to pick up some things to take home. Let me do that after it. Let me first go to the destination and finish my work and on the way back at it. Solution oriented. Why am I giving such trivial examples? I'm giving you such trivial examples because the next question is, how can I have a solution oriented mindset? And the answer is the same answer I gave you for a curiosity mindset. To practice. You got to practice it not only when you're looking for solutions in your business. Okay, I want to launch this product. I don't have money. What can I do about it? That's good. But for that to become your first nature, you have to practice it in every area of your life. When you're presentation, right? When you're short on funds for something that you already booked, right? Rather than only seeing the problem, look at the problem from a solution orientation. කොහොමද මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට විසඳුමක් හොයන්නේ? That is your second quality. Your third quality. Ego and your personal or the solution have to be left aside. I mentioned this at the start as well. Your ego. Why am I saying ego? I'll tell you what. Where some entrepreneurs fail is they are more focused on proving that their idea, their product, or their solution is correct rather than giving the customer or the end user the benefit of the doubt. Say I'm an entrepreneur and I come and say, oh, I have a great idea. This solution is going to solve the problem. කියලා මං කියනවා. මම හොයාගත්ත දෙයක්. දැන් මේක මං හොයාගත්ත දෙයක් නේ. But as I'm going, when I'm implementing, when I'm gathering information, the market is telling me, nah, අපිට මේක එපා. We don't want this. The customer is saying, this is not what I want. But my ego is saying now, if I accept what they are saying, මේගොල්ලන් කියන දේ හරි කියලා මං කිව්වොත් ඒ කියන්නේ මං පිළිගන්න ඕනේ මං වැරදි කියලා. ඒක නම් ලෝකෙත් වෙන්න දෙන්න බෑ. I can't admit that I am wrong. So what do? I get so focused on proving that my product is the best product. Right? One example that I see right, is Kodak, right, as a company. When they were doing so well with their traditional cameras, and when an engineer in their own company came up with the digital camera for digital photography and presented to them and said, hey, this could be the future, people could move to this. They said no. They said no because they're worried about cannibalization, right? If people start buying the digital cameras, they will lose out on a lot of other industries that they were a part of. Because in the traditional camera, you have to buy the film roll, there are the gadgetics you have to buy to it. So you've got to service the cameras, a lot of things that need to be done. And they, as a company, not only from the camera, they were benefiting from the film rolls, they were benefiting from all of it. You guys may have gone through the case study of them, right? They are known as one of the best examples for failure, for not listening to the market, for not listening to their own employee for that matter, right? So ego, wanting to do things the way you are doing. කරන විදිහටම කරගෙන යන්න ඕනේ. මම තමයි හරි. මං මේ හදපු දේ තමයි හොඳම දේ. මේ දේ මාරු කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ කියන attitude එක. You've got to keep that ego aside. You have to keep that ego aside, right? And the reason I say personal connections and personal biases is you may develop a product, right, which you think is nice in black. What is make a kalu part in the ලස්සනයි කියලා. Okay? But the whole market and the majority of the world want it in white. If you go and give a black product, chances are that your product will fail. Okay, because you are allowing your personal opinion to influence the product too much, or the service too much, or the business too much. Leave your personal connections and biases aside. Now, even for me, in my training facility, I have to listen to my clients. And that brings me to the fourth point. Good problem solvers, people who design and implement and deliver good solutions, they listen. Who do they listen to? They listen to the customer. They listen to the market. They listen to this. If Kodak had listened back then, things would have been different. If Sony was listening to the market, things would be different, right? These players were giants in their industries. And they were sometimes first in the market. And today they're nowhere. They're nowhere. They were not listening. They were like, we're the best. We are in front. But they were not listening. The consumer was changing. The market was changing. They were not listening. We as entrepreneurs have to remember we are here to serve the market, not to serve ourselves. Right? We're here to serve the market. Okay, so remember that. Listen. Listen to others and listen to the market. අනිත් කට්ටිය කියන දේ සවන් දෙන්න. අනිත් කට්ටිය කියන හැම දෙයක්ම කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා දෙයක් නැහැ. හැබැයි සවන් දෙන්න. I'll give you a very good example. How many of you have heard of Web 3.0 and cryptocurrency? If you have, I want you to type 1 in the chat box. Have you heard of Web 3.0? Have you heard of cryptocurrency? If you have, I want you to type, okay, fine, you can say yes. So I got an answer, says yes, 1, yes, no, it, okay, fine, good. That's very good. A lot of you have heard of it. How many of you have researched about it? How many of you have researched? Okay, I'm getting a lot of ones. That's very good, guys. You guys have a sense of, entrepreneurship in you. Because you're listening to the market. Now, will cryptocurrencies be the future? Will Web 3.0 be the future? Yes, people will say yes, but there is no 100% guaranteed evidence. Right? But as an entrepreneur, you're going to maintain curiosity. You're always going to ask, what is cryptocurrency? What is Web 3.0? How will that change my life? How will that change YouTube? How will that change Instagram? How will that change the way I buy products? You're curious. Right? You're solution oriented. Now, they are saying that in Web 3.0, I will have to pay with crypto. So then what can I do? No, I don't have crypto. How can I get crypto? Solution oriented. Right? You're keeping your ego aside. No. I said 1 year ago, I said cryptocurrency is a lie. Therefore, no matter what evidence comes, I will always be against cryptocurrency. I will always be against Web 3.0. Ego. Your personal biases. You leave that aside. Right? You listen. Some of the leading personalities in the world, right? If you take Kevin O'Reilly, Shark Tank investor, right? Somebody who has a wealth of financial knowledge, somebody who's very, very intelligent about financial markets. He's putting a lot of money into crypto. He's talking a lot about crypto. Why? I'm not saying to believe him. I'm not saying to follow him. I'm saying be curious. Why is Kevin O'Reilly doing that? Why? He has real estate. He has so much of fixed deposits. He has so many businesses. Why should he put in crypto? Why take the risk? Maybe there's something in it. Maybe, I don't know. But curious. Maintain that curiosity, right? You may identify problems in crypto. But if you're an entrepreneur, you might identify an opportunity in the problem. Maybe you're a coder. Maybe you understand coding. Maybe you work in IT. And you feel digital wallets security එක මදි. එතකොට ඔයාට security එක develop කරන්න මොන හරි solution එකක් තියෙනවද? Right? And I also want you guys, when I talk about, I'll actually add that on the next, on a following point, right? So that's just a very timely and relevant example I wanted to give you, right? The next value that I want to give you, which is the fifth value, is that in order to design, develop, and deliver a winning solution to a problem, you cannot allow the fear of failure or the fear of getting it wrong to stop you. Now, I'm very careful when I use my word. I'm not saying don't be scared to fail. A lot of people say, වැරදුනාට කමක් නැහැ. වැරදෙන එකට බය වෙන්න එපා. ඒක practical නෑ කියලා මම හිතනවා. මොකද as human beings, we obviously are worried about getting something wrong. Because it might be bad for our reputation, we may lose some money. So obviously we're going to be scared. But I'm saying don't allow that fear to stop you from taking action. There's a difference there, right? There's a famous saying that courage is not the absence of fear, right? Courageous. Somebody's courageous. That does not mean that they don't have fear. It's still more. If you don't get it wrong, right? You're going to get it wrong. So remember that. The next one, which is what I was going to mention earlier, was understanding the power of community. Understanding the power of community. What I mean that people do it single-handedly. Or was there a community, a group of people? I want you to answer the question. Is it the first thing or the second thing? Or like did they do it in collaboration with a team or with other people? One or two? Hope it's clear now. So the question I'm asking is the greatest achievements in the world, whether you take sports, right, or whether now even if you take individual sports, a sport like tennis, do those tennis players become the best in the world all by themselves, or do they have a support team? Right? So yeah, I think you guys have got the question. A lot of you have responded saying two. Right? Now, obviously, let's not talk about a team sport. Cricket match, obviously, someone has to be there in your team. You have to. But for our individual sports, tennis, athletics, you have a physio, you have a coach. Some people have, a mentor, right? You've got sponsors. All of these people are a part of your ecosystem. Without that, you can't get to where you are. So learn to work with people. If you want to be a problem identifier and a problem solver, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to have your own space and your own physical private team. You can work, right? The model is up to you, but you can't do it alone. Because once your idea goes into prototyping, once you have to do market test, events handling, everything has to be done. Can you do it alone? You may say, yes, I can. But even if you do, either the quality will be low or the volume will be low, because there's only 24 hours. You're one person, right? You've got two hands. There's only so much you can do. You have to embrace community. You have to build a team. And there's another part to community. When it comes to innovation, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you need a group of people who buy into your product, who believe in what you're doing, right? Why is it that, when somebody like Kumar Sangakkara sits on a company board, people believe in it, right? When someone like Mata Vardhana is in a group of consultants for cricket, people believe in the team. It's Richard Branson on the launch of a cryptocurrency. Even if you look at the new crypto coins that are coming out, they're backed by reputed companies, right? If you take a crypto like say Hedera Hashbyte, if you guys know cryptos, right? You take the Hedera coin, right? It's backed by Google. So obviously you trust, right? Anybody who's a follower of those companies will have faith in this cryptocurrency. Okay, so community. I'm telling you, community from twofold. One is you can't work alone. Right? Two is you have to build a group of people who believe in you, who like you, who like what you do, who believe in what you do. You need to build that community, right? Now, this next one is a very common one, and that's high work ethic. High work ethic, right? High work ethic, having grit, working hard. These are non-negotiable, guys. There's nothing you can do to replace this. I'm not saying not to work smart. You got to work smart, but certain things there is no other way other than to work hard, right? You may have to break a few hours of rest. You may have to sacrifice certain things, not all, but you've got to prioritize. Remember, I told you at the start, resources are limited, bro. You have 24 hours. I'm not saying never sleep or spend time with your family, but what I'm saying is understand when your website and a loved one in your family dies. Now, at that point in time, personally for me, I would prioritize attending to that over building. If friends are going to watch a movie, I always go to watch movies with them. Other Vitarak, I'm going to stay back and build on my website. I would pick that, right? So I'm not saying never go with your friends. I'm not saying friends are not important. I'm not saying don't dedicate time for your friends. But what I'm saying is understand how to prioritize. Understand how to prioritize, right? Even Elon Musk, who is currently the world's most wealthiest person, has only 24 hours, whether he likes it or not. No matter how advanced he is, he decides what he's going to do in those 24 hours. How much he's going to sleep, if he's going to sleep, right? What he's going to eat, is he going to eat? He prioritizes, right? So remember that you've got to have a high work ethic. Make ahambeng venna tiyena pratisataya adui. For you to be an entrepreneur, for you to be a problem solver, for you to be somebody who can design, develop, and deliver a winning solution, chances of it happening by accident are less. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? There are plenty of successful people in the world. I call it blessings, but some people say luck, right? Luck taking with the right? If you take Bill Gates, for example, when Bill Gates was in college, his college is one of the few, if not the only college that had a computer. And that was the computer he wrote his first code on, which made him, who he is today. So you could argue that if I was Bill Gates' age and I also was in college, but I was in a college that didn't have a computer, how could I have had that equal opportunity? He had the luck, or in my belief, the blessing, right, to be in that particular college at that particular time and have access to that particular computer. So I'm not saying it's impossible, that there's nothing called accident or nothing called what you might call it luck, but I would say nothing called blessings, right? But what I'm saying is there's a chance for you to have more blessings in your life if you work hard for those blessings, right? So ahambeng vennatina pratisatya probably take a good adu. Okay. So remember that and have a high work ethic. And this last quality is what you and I and most of the people in our generation, right, or the younger generations lack the most. Adu emma tiyena quality eka. Can anybody tell me what it is? This is something that we all lack in today's day and age, especially. We lack this a lot. A lot of businesses have used this, right, as a problem. They've identified it as a problem that we have, and they're making money out of it also. Mentorship. Actually, no, guys. We have more access to mentors than anyone before. Mentorship we could only get, say, when you're working in a company, your boss, or if you're going to school, your seniors. You get mentorship from them. But in today's day and age, I can be in Sri Lanka, and through Zoom, I can be getting mentorship from a coach in America or England or anywhere else in the world. So I actually think we have more access to mentorship, and there are more coaches. Like even myself, I'm a life coach, right? When I was growing up, I'd never heard of a thing called a life coach even. Now I have people, who are in college, who are starting their businesses, who work with me every week, right? They book sessions with me every week. We have discussions, we have chats, we monitor their progress. We see what are their bottlenecks, what are the problems they have, how they can overcome it, and they're making good progress in their life. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't have those options, right? So I actually think we have more mentors, more coaches now than ever before. Lovely. The majority answer that I have got is the correct answer. Patience. We lack patience. A lot of us look at entrepreneurs and they're like, wow, they came up with a winning idea, winning solution. But we don't know if they had 5 businesses that failed before that, 10 businesses that failed. 4 businesses that were disasters, right? Or even in the very business they are. The first 5 prototypes they made, the first 5 products, the first 5 services they came up with were a failure, complete failure. It took them 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years sometimes to figure things out. Hey, we know McDonald's was founded at the age of 52. He was 52 when he founded it. KFC was 63, if I'm not mistaken. Right? So imagine how many times they got things wrong, how many times things didn't work out, how many times they failed, how many times they were behind before they figured it out. And equally, there are people like Justin Bieber who was 16 and became, successful in his particular industry. So what we need to understand is that there is no one right age, there is no one right timeline for your business idea or for you as an entrepreneur to shine or to succeed or whatever. There are multiple factors: your business background, the blessings you have in life, the good you've done, the mistakes you've made, your educational background, right? Your friends that you hang out with, right? We know if you're hanging out with 4 other friends or 5 other friends who are all doing business, there's a high chance you'll also do business. But if all of them like working for respected corporates, right? They like the stability of a job, chances are you would be more like them, right? And none of that is right or wrong. There's nothing saying entrepreneurship is the best. There's nothing saying working for a company is the best. There's nothing like that. Each of it has its ups and downs. You got to decide what means the most to you. All right. So I'll quickly summarize what we went through. Okay. So firstly, we spoke about why we are here today. We are here today to talk about problems and how we can maintain the right perspective, the right mindset towards problems so that we can be entrepreneurs, so that we can be people who solve these problems and become entrepreneurs while doing that. Right? Remember, guys, there are multiple ways to solve problems. Right? Some problems are problems that are there from the past. Some problems are presence of problems of the present. Some problems are problems of the future. Right? Some problems are සමහර දේවල් තියෙනවා අපේ ගෙවල් වල තියෙන අපේ ජීවිතේ වල අපි භාවිතා කරන අපිට ඒක ඕනේ කියලා අපි දන්නේ නැහැ ඇඩ් එක දකිනකම්. Until you saw the advertisement, until you saw the product or the service, those are entrepreneurs who identified a future need and gave it to you, even before you needed it. Now you need it. Okay, so there are multiple. Don't always only look for things that are happening now and for the problem in that. The problem could be in that. The problem could be in the past. The problem can also be in the future. So that brings us to the next point, which we spoke about. This is be curious. Ask questions. මෙහෙම දෙයක් වෙනවලු. ඇත්තටම වෙනවද? ඇයි මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ? ඒක වෙන්නේ ඇයි? Right? Be curious. Just ask questions. And one thing I love to do when I meet, people that I look up to, people who are ahead in my field, who have successful businesses or who are great coaches, is to ask them questions. And a lot of us will be excited to go and take a selfie, post a picture, tag them, which is fine. Do that. No problem, right? No judgment on that. But in that short time, try to ask them some valuable questions. See how they respond. What do they say? Like equally, ask questions. Ask questions from the market. Ask questions from the consumer. Ask questions from the customer. Ask questions from your friends. If there's a problem that all of your friends are talking about, then that must be a real problem. Then can you not find a solution for it? And when you're going about looking for a solution, remember that you don't have to be the person who generates everything for the solution. Sometimes there may be a problem amongst your friends. And in order to solve that problem, you can create an app. But you come from an accounting background. Accounting and finance. So can you make apps? No. But you don't have to make the app. You can be the leader. You can be the visionary entrepreneur. And you can find a team of people who can build the apps. Right? So solution oriented. Right? So remember that if you want to be somebody who can design, develop, and deliver effective solutions to the market, then you got to have the points that we discussed, the values, the characteristics, the qualities, right? Which is you've got to be able to clearly define the problem. Use 6 Sigma. That's only one model. Okay, there are multiple models out there. 6 Sigma is an example. Ask why 5 times. And try to write down your problem in a perfect well. If you can write the problem in 1 line, that's brilliant. ප්‍රශ්න එක වාක්‍යයකින් ඔයාලට define කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් that means you're very clear on what you're trying to solve. Right? On what you're trying to solve. Okay? So get very clear. What is the exact problem that people are facing? Why is this problem there? Not just මොකද්ද ප්‍රශ්නේ. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඇති වෙන්න හේතුව මොකද්ද කියලා අහන්න පටන් ගන්න. Right? That's one value, one quality that you need to establish. Second thing we said was be solution oriented. Don't only talk about and look at problems, look at how you can overcome it. Right? Third one is leave your ego aside. Your personal thinking, your ego aside when you're looking for a solution. Listen to the market, listen to the consumers, listen to the feedback that you're getting when you're trying your new product, your new service, or whatever. Listen to the people, listen to your target audience. Okay, I'll just add in the word target audience there because it's very important, because don't listen to everybody in the market. Listen to your customer and your target market, right? If you're trying to serve teenagers, don't go and ask from the uncles and aunties. Ask the teenagers what they want. Okay? So ask from your target audience. Remember, you're definitely going to have failures, you're definitely going to have setbacks. Don't allow those to stop you in delivering your solution to the problem. Understand the power of community. Like I told you, you may not be able to do everything, but if you have a group of people, you can get it done, right? Have a high work ethic. It's not something you can do only on Saturday, Sunday, not something you can only do when you're motivated, when you feel like it. If you want this to be a winning solution, you've got to have mad work ethic. You've got to be at it all the time. Okay. Remember, prioritize your stuff. Okay. And the last thing is this whole thing, life in general, is not a destination. It is a journey. Your solution is not a destination. No, no, no. It is a journey. If I'll give you a good example, think about the mobile phone. Think about mobile phone. Why was mobile phone invented originally? Originally, the mobile phone was invented so that when you're mobile, when you're going somewhere, you can be contacted via phone call, right? Then we decided to have a short messaging system also. So let's take the basic mobile phone as call and text only. Phone just to call and text only. That's it. But if I was a company, let's say I'm Sony, and I invented the first phone, and you can take a call and you can send the SMS from that phone. Okay? So technically, I have solved the problem. Problem එක solve කරලා තියෙන්නේ. If it was a destination, okay, I got to the solution, it's over. If I was that entrepreneur, I would have died the moment a new phone came with something else. Today, if you take a mobile phone, you have to definitely have a reasonable, at least a reasonable camera. At least a reasonable camera. Not only a back camera, you have a front camera also. Right? You got to be able to do multiple things on a mobile phone. Otherwise, it doesn't even qualify as a mobile phone. That's how much it has changed. So if I was only looking at solving that particular problem and I viewed it as a destination and not a journey, then whatever the problem you solve, you will be outdated very. Your problem will evolve over time. Originally, people wanted calls, then they wanted call and text. Now they want call, text, and video. The problem is evolving. So as an entrepreneur, you එදා දීපු solution එක අද තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නට හරියන්නේ නැහැ. Right? So think ahead, listen to the market, and look at this as a journey. And I'll give you a good example. You take wealthy people in the world, සෑහෙන්න assets තියෙන කට්ටිය, like say Bill Gates, Elon Musk, right? All of these rich people, from a financial point of view, okay, wealth point of view. Have they stopped earning and have they stopped generating wealth? I want an answer to this. Now they're the richest person in the world. හරිද දැන් ඒ goal එක achieve කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. සෑහෙන සල්ලි තෝගයක් තියෙනවා, assets තියෙනවා, ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා. නමුත් සල්ලි හම්බු කරන එක සහ තමන්ගේ assets වැඩි කරන එක ඒකලා නවත්තලා තියෙන්නේ නැත්නම් තාම ඒ දේ කරනවා. No, they haven't stopped. They haven't stopped. See, this is work hard till 40 and then retire. Save enough money till I'm 40 doing a job I don't like and then retire and do what I like. But what happens at 40 you realize ඒ තියෙන සල්ලි මදි. එතකොට shape එකේ 50 වෙනකම් වැඩ කරනවා. 55 වෙනකම් push කරනකොට 60 වෙද්දි අමාරුයි ඒ හින්දා retire වෙනවා. එතකොට ඔයාට තේරෙනවා now I have the money but I don't have the age. right? The problem with that approach is we are seeing this as a one destination, earn this much and then I'll be okay. There's nothing like that. Everything in life is a journey. If you want to get rich, you can get rich. But if you want to stay rich, you have to keep doing the things that make you rich. You get what I'm saying? So if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's not just about becoming an entrepreneur. You have to keep practicing the qualities, the mindset, the actions of being an entrepreneur to continue being an entrepreneur. Otherwise, you will expire. You will reach the destination and it's over. There's nothing for you to do after that. All right. So those are the key points that I wanted to communicate. What I want to know now is number one, are all these points clear? Yes or no? Are these points clear? Do you want further clarity on any of these points? Right, clear. Next question. Do any of you all have any further questions? Either in relation to what I said or any other questions? Remember, guys, these answers I gave you are not the one answer. They are not the one way, and they shouldn't be the one answer or the one way. This is only a way. Okay? Because that is the case with everything. Remember, point number one, be curious. Right? Be curious. There is no one solution. You got to mix and match and figure out what works for you. Right? Okay. Do you have any questions? I'll give it about another minute and then we can call it a day. We're done. But for me, if I have at least got you thinking about, identifying problems and coming up with solutions, that's good enough for me. Because anyway, I can't help you identify problems. I can't tell you what's a good problem, and I can't tell you which problem to solve. You got to find something that you're passionate about, something that speaks to you. When you find these problems, when it comes to selecting what problem to find, one encouragement I will give you is ask yourself, are you passionate about the process of solving the problem? Right? For example, let's say that in Sri Lanka, there is a shortage of a particular garment. Let's say there's no silk in Sri Lanka. And you come up with a way to ensure an unlimited supply of silk to Sri Lanka. Now, any business, any opportunity, anything in life to do well, to do good, to come to a high standard, you got to work hard, you'll have to break rest, you'll have to push yourself, definitely. Right? Definitely. That is whether it's in garments, whether it's in tea, whether it is in services, whether it's in communication, that's a common thing. Right? If you want to just survive, you don't have to work too hard. But if you want to do really well, you got to work hard. So the question I always ask myself is, if I have to work so hard, if I have to put so much of my time, how can I make it something that I'm excited to do? How can I make it something that I like? Because if it is something I like, if I like the process, if I'm passionate about it, because I really like health and fitness, I love it. I have thankfully, right? I always thank the Almighty that I'm blessed. I never, ever, ever have, since I left working in corporate, since I left my corporate job and started my own business, or I moved into health and fitness, I have never gotten up in the morning thinking, I have to go to work today, or I have to do this. Never. Not a single day. I wake up every day. Sure, I feel sleepy. I like to sleep a little. I'm human. I'm not saying that those are not them, but what I'm saying is it's never related to you are that unknown or you are that never. It's not to say that everything I do is fun and joyous, but I believe in what I do. මං කරන දේ මේ ලෝකෙට අගයක් තියෙන දෙයක් බව කියන දේ මම 100% විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඒ හින්දා මං කවදාකවත් හිතන්නේ මේක අයියෝ මේක වදයක් මේක කරන්න difficult decisions and make hard choices to get there. Right? But try to center your problem solving. Try to create your business around an area or topic that you're passionate about. Because then, even if you like, then you don't know Kumar Sangha. And I'm not saying that they didn't want the money. Maybe they wanted the money. Maybe they got good money, but that's not the primary driving factor. Because if that was the primary driving factor, when Steve Jobs made his first loss, he would have stopped. If Bill Gates made a loss, he would have stopped. If Kumar Sangakkara got out, he would have stopped. Right? Or if Kumar Sangakkara didn't get a contract which was supposed to be a big amount of money, he would have stopped. But they didn't. They love what they do. They're passionate about what they do. They believe in what they do. That's why no matter how hard it gets, they keep going. Okay, so I'll end on that note. thank you very much for you guys, spending your time participating, actively answering the questions, giving me things to think about. I learned from you guys, right? Answering the question. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much to Sasnaka as well for keeping me as a member, for allowing me to be of service. So, guys, my purpose in life, my belief in life is that I am alive, I'm in existence on this planet Earth to be of service, right? For me, that service is linked to my creator, the Almighty, right? So I'm here to serve. And I want to do that by inspiring, educating, and empowering people to be the best that they can be. Whether you want to be I can't believe I'm starting with this, but whether you want to be a politician, whether you want to be an accountant, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to be a loving father or a loving mother, right? Or a loving husband or a loving wife, whether you want to be an exceptional brother or sister, that's not for me to decide. That's not for me to judge. But as a coach, my job, my belief, my reason for existence is so that I can help you guys, right? When I say you guys, I'm talking about the community, not just you guys who are here, right? To help the community be the best they can be, to have the best values, the best standards, the best quality of life, right? And ultimately, that will give you the happiness and the satisfaction that you are looking for. So that's who I am. That's what I love doing. That's what I'm passionate about. That's the problem I help people solve, right? And I've built a business around it as well. Obviously, I get remunerated for my private clients that I handle, and I do a lot of it as social service as well because I believe in service and I believe in giving, and I believe that everything I have is not because I'm a great guy. It's not because I'm awesome or that I. It's simply because the Almighty has blessed me with it. I am nobody. I am nothing if He decides that I am nothing. And the way I show that gratitude is by serving the rest of His creation, by helping people, being there for them, and sharing what I have with the world. So that's my philosophy. That's what I believe in. That's what I love. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that this has helped you get inspired, educated, and empowered. You guys can reach me on my private social media. I mean, it's public profile, but on my social media on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're comfortable. So the reason you can reach out to me, of course, is if you want to work out, a coaching session with me, or if you have any kind of thing that I can help you with, I'd love to, and I'll be happy to help you guys out. You can reach me on Instagram, on TikTok, and yeah, that's about it from me, guys. Remember that there's a lot of negativity going in the world. There's a lot of negativity in the country, right? Whether it's gas cylinders or IMF loans or debt. And remember that every country has their problems, right? Every country has their problems. Some have climate issues, some have natural disaster, some have different lifestyles that we don't like. Some the weather is not good. Every country has some level. Almost every country has some level of inflation. America has printed the largest amount of notes ever to be printed in the history, right? They are actually speculating very high interest rates. Cost of living has gone up majorly, right? So the reason I'm sharing this with you is that problems are there everywhere. Negativity is everywhere. It's a human trait. It's in us. It's something that's in us to protect us. Negativity, always seeing danger, right? But my message to you guys is try to ask yourself the question of who am I? Who am I? What do I value in this life? What do I value in this life? And what's the best way that I can work towards? And what's the best way I can work towards it? I'm not saying stay in Sri Lanka. I'm not saying move from Sri Lanka. I'm not saying any of that because I believe the answer is not in either of them, right? Those can be a tool to get you to where you want to go or be who you want to be. But if fear is the reason that you're in negativity, understand that the problem is inside of you. It's not around you. The environment plays a role, but the problem is in you. If you're always finding a reason to be negative, or if you're always in a negative mindset, then the problem is not only your environment, it is also internal. Work on your mindset, work on your heart, work on your soul. Ideally, if you build that, no matter where you are, you can stay on track on who you want to be and what you want to achieve. Right? That's just a general piece of advice that I'm leaving out there for anyone to take, because I know a lot of people are in a very negative heart, mind, soul body state right now, right? And remember that you can never change negativity without making a change. So you got to change something if you want to change the place that you are in right now. We can talk for hours, we can share examples, we can look at Bill Gates. Or the question is, after this session is over, how many of you all will do something about it? That's the question. Thank you so much, and hope you guys have a good night and a great week ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shoaib, for making time for us amongst your busy schedule. So thank you so much for the wonderful, insightful session, and especially for spreading a lot of positivity during these difficult times. So a special thanks goes out to Sasnaka Sansada Foundation as well for being our knowledge partner for Jumpstart 2021. So before we wrap up, let me make some quick announcements for the workshop series we had under Jumpstart 2021. So the next workshop will be held on the 16th December, that's the day after tomorrow. All details will be shared with you in due course. And also, when it comes to, if you want to sign up for all these workshops, we will provide you with a registration link in the chat box. So sign up for the workshops. And also, the main part of Jumpstart is the pitch it, win it round, where ideators and early stage startups are given an opportunity to validate their business ideas. So if you have an idea, and if your startup is in an early stage, this is your biggest opportunity. So sign up for the Pitch It Minute round. It may appear as the same link because it directs you to one single platform, and where you can find all the registration options there. And also to get to know more about Jumpstart, all the proceedings we are about to do this year. So you may visit our blog link as well. It's also given in the chat box. So to everyone who joined, thank you so much for joining. We hope that this session was insightful for you as it was insightful for us. So once again, Mr. Shoaib, thank you so much for joining with us, for making time for us amongst your busy schedule to educate us on such a wonderful topic. So we can start from the basics. So once again, to all who joined, thank you so much. Until we meet again, stay safe. Good night.